Hello everyone, and today we are back for another Loomian Legacy Top 5 video, and we're going to be ranking the top 5 most overrated Loomians in all of Loomian Legacy. I did make a top 5 most overrated list before, but this will be the most updated version. So, with that out of the way, let's head right onto this list. So, number 5 onto this list is going to be a former Uber in Ursoul. Now, Ursoul isn't a bad Loomian. This Loomian hits really hard. It has priority and it has slapdown. Ursoul has a lot of very good stuff to it. But the reason why Ursoul is overrated is because of its former Uber status. Yes, it hits extremely hard. But nowadays, there are a lot of melee tanks that are able to soak hits really well. And if you don't have good speed on Ursoul, you get outsped by a lot of other Loomians. And while you do have 40 power priority moves to outspeed those other threats, it doesn't do as much damage as Pep Jab or Slapdown. Now, Ursoul's very good. This is still a top 20 worthy Loomian. This thing hits hard. And while its defensive typing isn't the best, the fact that it hits so hard definitely gives Ursoul a lot of good stuff to it. But it also is quad weak to Spirit. And guess what's a very common move Spirit types have? Shadow Sprint. Almost every Spirit type has Shadow Sprint, and most of them outspeeds Ursoul, which will one-shot it. And that's why Ursoul is a little overrated. It's still a very good Loomian, and it's still top 20 worthy, but it's definitely no longer an Uber nowadays, and that's why it's on the list. Number 4 into this list is going to be Krab Tana. Yes, I did overrate Krab Tana when putting this on my top 20 PvP Loomians list. It's still a very good Loomian, and I still support it a lot. But number 20 on my list? There are like 5 other Loomians I probably could have put over Krab Tana. Like Marave, Soulburst Gastroke, and Vesperatu are all Loomians that are better than Krab Tana. Even Joltooth could have been on the list. And even though the reason I didn't put Joltooth on the list was because of Aklos being on the list. But yeah, Krab Tana is definitely a little overrated. But the reason why it is only number 4 is because I think I'm the only one that would rank Krab Tana that high. I think for the public, a lot of people says this is, a top 40 at best Loomian. That can be very dangerous in certain situations. So, to the public community, this Loomian isn't really overrated. But for me, putting this in the top 20 is the reason why it is on the list. It isn't a bad Loomian. Heck, this thing often carries me. If you watch a lot of my showcase videos, this Loomian carries me in a ton of battles. But I don't think it is a top 20 Loomian anymore. And if I personally made the top 20 list today, I would happily put Marave in the number 20 spot. So yeah, Krab Tana is a little overrated, but it's still a very good Loomian. But it does deserve number 4 on the list. Number 3 onto this list is going to be Terod Discent. Terod Discent? More like Terod Discent. More like terrible. Oh yeah, maybe that's a little harsh. Terod Discent isn't terrible. Mesmerizing is a very good ability, making it so it isn't priority bait. And its defensive typing is actually pretty good, only having 2 weaknesses, that being to metal and dark. But the biggest problem with Terod Discent is that it needs 3 drudges in order to actually be dangerous. And while it does have Parasitize, and while it is pretty easy to get the drudges on Terod Discent, I think every other drudge Loomian is better than Terod Discent. Skeleton can hit hard after 2 drudges. Joltooth after 1 drudge can be very dangerous. Aklos with its secret ability in a drudge can be dangerous. That's what I mean. I think every other drudge Loomian is better than Terod Discent. And while Terod Discent has a good defensive typing and it is a Loomian that can easily get drudges on, it doesn't always do enough damage, and it often gets destroyed by really bulky Loomians like Obsidragon and Tundrolin. That's the reason why it's overrated, because a lot of people still think this is a top 30 Loomian, when personally, I don't think it's even in the top 50, and that's why it's on the list. We're into our top 2 now, and number 2 onto this list is Dragodyne. Alright, here comes the controversies. Dragodyne is on this list. Now, Dragodyne is an awesome Loomian. It has 130 Draco Beam, hits pretty hard, and its speed stat isn't terrible. But People call this a top 3 Loomian. Jamie calls this the best Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. No, it's not. In fact, this is not even a top 10 Loomian, and there are a couple reasons why. Its defensive typing isn't the greatest, and it only has a speed stat of 60. That's the biggest thing holding Dragodyne back. It has a very low speed stat for its offensive coverage. And while its offensive coverage is amazing, this Loomian gets easily revenge killed. And its bulk isn't the greatest. Yes, you can run Slumber, but who's going to run Slumber on a Dragodyne? Not many people. And while you do have Anomaly Drago Beam that can give you setups, there's also that possible chance of missing Draco Beam, which is awful and can often KO your Dragodyne. This thing is still a top 20 potential Loomian, but there's no reason for this to be in anyone's top 10. Heck, this shouldn't even be number 1 on Jamie's list, and that's why it's on the list. Honorable mentions on this list, and it's going to be Ursnack. Now, I have a lot of reasons why Ursnack is an honorable mention. It's mainly to talk about its offensive pressure. This Loomian has no offensive pressure at all, and that's why it's on the honorable mentions list. There are Loomians that can live 3 hits from a super effective move. You can't OHKO a Waka Laka with a slapdown. You can't even 2-hit KO a Holly Bunch with a slapdown. Keep in mind, those Loomians are quad weak to slapdown. Its priority moves often doesn't do enough damage, and this Loomian just flat out can't hit hard. Other tanks like Venilin, Terraclaw, and Gastroke all have offensive pressure, either by having poison or good coverage. Ursnack doesn't have that at all, and often destroys your team if it's just Ursnack and 1 Loomian left. Now, the reason why this is only an honorable mention, and it's not on the list, is because of its role. It's still one of the best bridge Loomians in all of Loomian Legacy. And using your Ursnack to bridge into a wall breaker, this is still the best Loomian for the job, and that's why I didn't want to put this on the list. It's still an honorable mention because I do want to talk about a fatal flaw that it has, but it isn't enough to be on the list. The most overrated Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy is Seops, the biggest fraud in all of Loomian Legacy. How is this Loomian an Uber again? Well, let's talk about the positives first. The positives. It has a high health stat, meaning that it has great bulk on both sides. It also hits pretty hard. It's very good for bulky offensive teams. It has Hypnotize, and it has Icicle Traps. And that's where the positives end. It has a whopping 5 weaknesses. That doesn't even include being weak to Deep Freeze, and being quad weak to Boiling Press. And while you do have Soul Drain, there are a lot of range tanks nowadays that are not weak to Cephalops and can live 3 hits from it. Not to mention, Cephalops' biggest flaw is no setup. Without Rageful Plushie, Cephalops has no setup whatsoever, which holds Cephalops back a lot. And while you do have Hypnotize and Icicle Traps, there's other Hypnotized Loomians that are faster than you and have setup. That's why Cephalops is a fraud. It's not a top 20 Loomian. Heck, it might not even be a top 50 Loomian. It's a fraud. It's good. It can be dangerous, but it's nowhere near Uber status. Heck, it might not even be OU. And that's why it's on the list. And here it is, Cephalops, the most overrated Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. That doesn't mean that Cephalops can't be dangerous, but come on. You're comparing this to Soulburst Metronet, Charonix, and Glacidia. It doesn't come close. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. If there's some other Loomians that I missed on the list, please tell me in the comments below. And I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.